Hey, everybody, we're doing cancel culture versus accountability. We're going to talk about that. We're going to hopefully have some people. Links are in the chat. Here goes the intro. Welcome to the show. And remember, the opinions expressed on this show is not Variant's fault. He pays me extra to make sure I say that at the beginning of everything. But here we go, the opening.
It's time to get real about shit and have some hard conversations and rip apart topics to make sure we advocate for every angle of that topic. Welcome to The Devil's Advocate, brought to you by Indie Volt. Give your fandom a recharge, and hosted by the uncanny indie devil, Mr. Anderson. Follow all the comics devil's tales at MrAnderson.com.
Original music by Unicorn Heads for the YouTube Audio Library. This music is free for you to use on YouTube videos. Find the music in YouTube Audio Library in the Creator Studio. Search Unicorn Heads.
And now on to the topic. The opinions expressed in the following broadcast are not necessarily those of Indie Volt Media LLC, its staff, contributors, or sponsors. Viewer discretion is advised. All right, so it's a difficult night because this one's not so cut and dry. This one's difficult. This one's hard because you have to kind of put balance, and we don't know always who makes the rules. The rules seem to shift. We're talking about cancel culture versus accountability. And I guess we'll start with cancel culture. Do you ever think there's a time, Randy, where it's okay to cancel someone? Like, is that okay?
For the most part, no. But there are some aspects of this business where I think people need to cancel themselves, especially if there's something egregious. They end up in jail on a bad charge, and they're gone for 20 years. Well, I don't think they should be doing comics for 20 years.
So no jailhouse comics?
No. Well, like I said, it's so easy to pigeonhole people. Like I keep saying, I'm so against lists. It really has to be taken by a case-by-case basis, and how egregious the act is, and how badly quite frankly, you've screwed up, and whether or not you should be out in the public or not. Because there are people that were in comics that aren't in comics anymore, that are in jail, that don't need to be in comics. And there are other people that, that list that we were talking about earlier, just have an angry girlfriend, and how do you judge it? It's a case-by-case basis.
I think the most uncomfortable part of this whole thing is that a lot of this is coming down to relationship, sexuality, or within a relationship we're talking about, not sexuality.
Sexuality is always uncomfortable when it's not yours.
Yeah.
And it's not when you remotely start heading into gray areas of consent, non-consent, regret, that kind of thing. That's always a bad road, a bad road to go down. And we just need to be more mature as a business, as a community, as an industry. We need to be more professional. We need to be more ethical, more moral, for the most part. And I have to say, the industry's changing. It's shifting, and it's cool. It's all right. We are seeing bits here and there of professionalism coming out, but on the other hand, thanks to social media, we're seeing more trolling, we're seeing more accusations, we're seeing more finger pointing, we're seeing more cancellations, or attempts at cancellations, more doxing, more trouble intentionally caused to people that might or might not deserve it, depending upon the individual case. So
I definitely feel like we're putting, especially for me, and I'll just speak for myself on this, and Randy, you work with Indie Volt. So you might feel some of this with some of the story choices. We're put in a place to make decisions about people's futures, and sometimes you just can't go with the story. Even if you have enough that you think it's real, if you can't verify it, you can't get that second source, you shouldn't be putting it out there. But that's on social media. Whispers become fact. I mean, we have literally a virus going around in our country right now and across the world, and no one can make up their mind of what's right or wrong about that. And you'd think science would be able to tackle that. how are we ever supposed to make heads or tails of things that are happening behind closed doors without eyewitnessing someone?
Eyewitness accounts, and it's got to be more than he said, she said. So, and like I said, case by case basis, you really have to be careful. It's not really our position to judge, but if we have a company, if we're a publisher, and there's somebody up there that's questionable like that, there has to be an air of professionalism that prevails.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
and there's so many different degrees, there's so many different legalities and illegalities, so much that every case is a puddle of mud that really has to be waded through and done. But in the meantime, there has to be precautions set up. There has to be. I'm not saying that somebody's career automatically needs to be canceled because of an accusation, but I do think their projects need to be, or the publishing company that's publishing their work, or the company that they're associated with, has to be conscious and cautious about how they proceed with that individual until the puddle is sifted through.
Yeah, and
unfortunately, that's going to damage careers.
I was just about to say that the hardest thing is going through the moment where an accusation is instantly believed on social media. I heard this becomes a fact. We've seen it. People accused of things. I've been accused of things. Nothing to back it up. Very flimsy, just easy to make an accusation. Great to get 10 people to talk about it who just don't like you. So if you've ever had an argument with someone, I guarantee you at the moment something comes out about you, whether it's true or not, they're going to come out and they're going to say, oh, I think he did do it, or I think that, or she did it.
And it's so easy for that to happen too, especially now that we're in the age of trolling and social media, and only so many characters allowed on Twitter that you can take out of context so easily, and all sorts of crap like that. You just have to be cautious and careful and professional.
So what about the people who are now going up above, and we'll shift it a little bit. The people who threaten to go out of their way to boycott, to get endorsements. Let's say that I had an endorsement or an advertiser who is behind my show, and to get me not to have, let's say, John. I don't know a John. We're using John. He's a character from a fictional thing. John. They say I can't have John anymore. If I do, they're going to go to my advertiser. They're going to get them to pull the money from me. Do you think that's right? Do you think it's because you don't get your way right away? You try to put pressure? Because that seems to be a big tactic of the cancel culture that a lot of people are upset about.
Well, again, you have to look at this at a case-by-case basis. There's always, like I said, you always have to tread lightly when you're a corporation or a company, a publisher, because you have to worry about everyone else on top of this person who's been accused, or even an accuser who's come out and accused. Depending upon, again, every case is different. There's so many varying degrees of severity, so many things that you could do wrong. Some legal, some illegal, some grossly illegal, and you really, as a publisher or company, have to take it on a case-by-case basis, take a look at it. A lot of times, maybe you have to put both people, if they're both working for your company, on hold in order to handle the situation. Look, nothing comes out of either one of you or we don't print anything from either one of you until this is settled. Let's get this settled and done. If he needs to go or she needs to go, however it's settled, we need to have it done. That's we have to be professional about this because we're an industry, and quite frankly, we're being looked at, pointed at, and shamed at the moment from outside media sources, which has really got me worried about the performances without there being any type of proper context. Everybody wants to point and go, that guy's evil, that girl's evil, that she said this, he said that, without everybody wants to butt into the problem, which just muddles the problem.
Meredith's here. We never introduced ourselves, Randy. Do you want to go around the room real quick and introduce ourselves?
We can start with Meredith. She just dropped in.
Let's
Meredith,
go there.
You can introduce yourself. Hi, Meredith.
Hi, guys. This is Meredith Loughran. I am the comic noob. I am also with wildoneforever.com, which is a women-centric site that is women-centric, but not women exclusive. I also work with Geek Insider and Comic Book Advocates Network, as well as Terraform Comics. So my new title is probably going to be etc., etc., etc. Off to you, Randy.
They're going to have to buy some more hats. Hi, everybody. I'm Randy Zimmerman. I've been doing alternative and independent comics for many, many years. Arrow Comics, Massive Comics, Weeby Comics. I've all self-published under. My specialty now is graphic and commercial art for advertising, usually for advertising purposes. That involves sequential art. But I'm also working on a crowdfunding book myself that I'm hoping to get out here within the next couple of months. I don't want to start my crowdfunding book until I've got the book done so I can concentrate on my campaign. So hope you bear with me and, hang in there. But in the meantime, I know a lot of stuff about the business. I've done just about everything that you can imagine here in the industry, including retailing and distributing. So, and I also do the Zim Geek channel on YouTube, ZIMMGEEK. If you ever want some cartooning instruction or just some in general talk about comics in general, or and I'm also part of the Indie Volt podcast here at Tuesday nights and Thursday mornings at the 9th. So.
And I am Mr. Anderson. I am your host tonight. I am joined by people who are smarter than me, which always makes it better and more interesting. I create books about fetish monsters more, and I have definitely been someone who upsets people because I put words like fetish on posters, and people think they have a right. So for me, this is it's a tricky situation. I believe in freedom of speech. I absolutely am a big freedom of speech person. I don't want to be in your bedroom. I don't want to tell you who to marry. I don't want to tell you who you can have sex with, but I want you to do it consensually. So here's a question I got asked off of camera because this person did not want to come on. They didn't want to face the pressure of this question. And I let people ask me questions in my messenger. If you ever want to do that, to those listening on the radio station, if you guys want to ask a live question, please join the YouTube group, Indie Volt. Just look it up. We're on Indie Volt right now on YouTube. Come on over, ask your question. Hey, Sarah says hi to us. So here was a question I got asked, and it's a pretty good one. Do you guys currently think that the laws out there are protecting men and women from people who go out of their way to cause harm, to abuse their position in comics, to take advantage of others, to offer things that they can never or don't intend to give? So do you think our legal system is there to protect people, or because there's someone in, do we want to name people tonight, Randy?
No.
Or do we want to basic, right?
No, we do not.
Okay, so we'll go
There's
basic.
no sense in finger pointing because we're just going to add to the trolling.
True. So there was someone, it's a creator. A lot came out about him. The one thing everyone said, well, he didn't break a law. And I mean, he was cheating on his wife, which is still illegal in some states. I know no one ever gets arrested for it.
All right.
But there are actual laws for that. And to me, that's it's immoral to sin. Should you go to jail? I don't think you should go to jail, but should there be some sort of punishment? Like, do the laws protect good people now? Because there are people out there being taken advantage of. Do we think the legal system is protecting people, guys? I will go around. Meredith, since you haven't chimed in yet, we'll start with you. Are people protected in this current America only? For those listening to the radio, we're only talking about the American culture.
Because everybody's laws differ.
Yeah, we can only talk about where we're from.
In some countries, cheating on one's wife would be a stoning. Still.
Yeah.
So, hey.
I do believe in due process. I believe in facts. I believe in. I believe that the justice system should work. Does it always? I don't know. I can tell you about an experience that I had last year, where I was picked as a juror on a panel, and it was a child porn.
Before you answer that, Meredith, are you allowed to talk about it?
Yeah. The case is closed. It's over now and everything. And I'm not going to name names because unfortunately it's prevalent. So it was a child porn distribution case. And unfortunately, as a juror, we were subjected to watch the evidence that was found. It fucked me up for months. I still think about it. And as someone who was on the panel. I didn't look at the guy. I could not bring myself to look at the guy. I only wanted to focus on the evidence. And the pictures that the police had taken of the scene when they gathered the evidence and everything that was going on, plus the testimony of everybody that was brought on by the defense. That being said, I think the system worked in that case. Now, does it always? I don't know. I think it depends also on the credibility and how convincing your lawyer is. I think that makes a big difference. And that can like steamroll into a whole other thing, like, can you afford the better lawyers and stuff like that?
Well, I think the question.
So, but like in comics, you were saying, like, if people are throwing out innuendo or making false accusations, I think that there needs to be some kind of pushback against that. If there's got to be proof out there. If it's breaking the law, people need to kind of get in front of a panel of their peers and see, is this right? Let's see the evidence. Let's see the facts, and not go by just hearsay. So I probably went way off topic with you, but that's just my perspective.
I think what they're specifically asking is, are there enough laws to protect? Example, because I did talk to the person, so I got a little more feedback. One of the things they brought up, a young woman's promised, hey, come hang out with me. I'll take care of you. I'll keep you under my wing. I'm going to guide you through this industry. One thing turns to another. She gets involved with the person thinking that she can trust them. They're going to be a mentor, a romantic thing. They get dropped and blackballed. Is that illegal? Should it be illegal? That's what they're kind of asking. Are there laws to protect men and women when people are, because that's a con. It's basically a con. But I tried to look up laws. I found none.
No.
That could protect anyone from such behaviors. There are, as far as I can tell, the person who wrote the question to me was absolutely right. And how that's difficult, because you have a lot of people who will just be like, well, it's not illegal, so I guess it's not a problem. Is that the society we want to live in?
That's not a healthy way of looking at it. Absolutely not. The everything needs to be looked at in context, and the laws aren't complete. The laws aren't perfect, but they are getting better, and they need to get even better. And the only way that's going to happen is by having discussions, moving legislation through, and making the laws change. And the way that's in comics, especially, you have to understand the context of comics. And I'm not saying it's our fault, because I take no responsibility for this, but the last 30 years of comics have been aimed at predominantly a small, very narrow demographic, and that demographic has always done the shows, they've always done the conventions, they've always ran the publishing companies for the most part, and that's it. They don't want it's been a boys' club, but we are growing up, and we need to grow up and mature so bad. And we've needed this since the 80s or 90s. We've needed diversity. We've needed multiple individual viewpoints from multiple sides and multiple places. Comics are accessible, believe me, and I know this for a fact from my last decade of doing a local newspaper and seeing who's actually reading these comics. Comics are accessible to anybody and everybody, and they ought to be. And they ought to be coming and being created from all sides. And unfortunately, in the mainstream, mostly, it also happens in the independents, but lately especially, I'm seeing it less and less. It's a boys' club. And the guys, it's all rowdy shop talk. It's all, locker room type stuff. And hey, buddy, how'd you get away with this? Ha, ha, ha. That kind of mentality, I call it a Beavis and Butthead mentality, that we as an industry have got to get past in order to be a proper industry. If not, we're going to be labeled as a sad, misogynistic group and an art form that's aimed at still that stupid, same narrow demographic that drives me crazy. And we're going to slowly fade away into nothing, which is what we've been doing the last 30 years. So we need to grow up, and we need to grow out. So,
well,
Meredith?
In the case of, like what you were talking about, was one person in position of power compared to the other. If
Right.
that's the case, then if they were associated with a company or something like that, for example, like the military, they have rules against fraternization. I
Yes.
know I'm probably saying
Yep.
that. And that's because people in a position of power automatically in their bylines, their laws and stuff, that you cannot do that without specific permission from a senior,
Yeah.
a senior. I can't remember the term, but you know what I mean, Randy. I mean, you're nodding your head. The reason behind that is because if you're in a position of power, then you can say to somebody who's beneath you, "Do this." They have no choice.
Hmm.
So if it's company policy and it's written, then yes, there are laws and that can be pursued if it's argued well and it's documented.
There is one problem with all that, and I'm with you, Meredith. I've been a manager. I've dated people under me. I had to make sure I did it the right way. I had to make sure people knew. We tried to not be on the same shift, things like that. Here's the problem with comics, because we did look into this. I actually talked to a lawyer while we were investigating something, and I have a couple friends who are lawyers who give me free advice every so often. And I have to say this because they said when they give me free advice, it was hypotheticals. So hypothetically speaking, if a person is hired as a freelancer, it's never the publisher's fault. It still goes back to the person. And if the person can't be prosecuted for a law, they can't be taken advantage of. You can sue a person in civil court, though. Anyone can sue anyone in a civil court. That's absolutely true. But legally speaking, unless they are signed to an exclusive contract, then no, you couldn't go after the publisher. So therefore, they're a freelancer, so it couldn't apply. And it's devastating to think that there are people probably hiding behind that loophole. And there are probably publishers who are like, well, they're a freelancer. Why do we have to talk about it? They're not our employee. They're just someone we use when we want to use them.
Yeah, but that's quite honestly, in my opinion, that's a shit lousy attitude to have. Because again, you're a business. You're supposed to have the upfront of professionalism, even if you're dealing with freelancers. And if you're dealing with freelancers that are doing that, you need to stop dealing, because there's plenty of freelancers out there. Despite what they want to talk about how much talent is or isn't in this industry. There's plenty of talent in this industry, and there's plenty of talent if somebody doesn't toe the line. And yes, you should definitely have codes of conduct. You should definitely be watching and be aware, especially right now, because well, not even especially right now. Should have always been. It should have always been there from the start. Marvel and DC have never had those codes. In fact, it's been, like I said, an old boys network where they're like going, "You did who?" Ha ha ha. There's been lots of stories about higher up professionals stealing freelancers' girlfriends, wives, or boyfriends all the time. And that kind of action, that kind of performance, that kind of action just has to stop. And fortunately now, hopefully now, there's enough like-minded folks in the industry that are actually working, that have gotten some skills and some talent, that you don't need to cross genders in order to find a mentor. And there's enough, for example, there's enough women in this market now to be able to stop people and go, "Hey, you might not want to hang around with that guy because that guy's got a rep." And that doesn't mean a whisper network where you're going around trying to totally destroy somebody. That's just a big sister, little sister. That's a mentorship, an older guy talking to a younger guy. And that goes both ways too. "Hey, buddy, you might not want to do this because it's going to look, the impropriety is just screaming here. You need to cool your jet, keep it in your pants." I don't think there's any harm in trying to keep a professional decorum everywhere in this industry, in the conventions, in the publishing houses, everywhere, in the comic shops, because I'm sure it happens there too. It just has to be handled in a professional manner. And it also, again, has to be a case-by-case thing. You just can't walk in with a list and say, all these people are evil. No. You have to go through case-by-case, puddle-by-puddle, and get it sifted out, taken care of, and handled, quite frankly. And however that happens, however that works, if there's a long series of apologies, sincere, if there's therapy, there's therapy. If there's, whatever has to happen, if there's jail time, if there's lawsuits, it all has to get done. But none of this should be happening as long as we keep a professional air of decorum in what we're doing.
Mary, do you have anything to say? 'Cause I think Randy nailed it.
Yeah, I was going to say, basically, motivation speaks to a lot of that, I think, on both parties.
Mhm.
And I would never, ever, ever shame a victim, ever.
No.
But there are times when you just don't know what you don't know until you're in a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
And so it helps to have somebody who might have been there, who knows a little bit better. Where do you find those people? That's the
You just
It's a hard
you just
thing.
have to keep looking. There's always going to be goofs and mistakes until things get until there's an agreeable set of decorum. The sad thing, the thing that really bothers me, is the circling the wagons and the old boys network that's out there, where somebody does something and he's congratulated. Ha ha! Got into her pants, and it turns into turns into a bad situation. A relationship turns into a bad situation, which turns into regret, which can easily turn into abuse, easily. And the abuser, male or female, is congratulated and kind of elbowed by their Beavis and Butthead mentality friends, and that stuff's got to get a handle on it. No,
Well,
what you did was wrong. You should be ashamed of yourself. Stop doing that. Don't do it again.
yeah.
And you should
on
go
the
over
flip
there and
side of that-
apologize.
Sorry to step
Sorry.
on you, Randy.
I can get on a
was going to
soapbox
say
on that.
on the flip side of that, and I'll take the hate mail. I don't care. But women do that too. Women will gang up and just say, "Let's take them down, girls," and that happens.
Yeah, but there's a huge difference between doxing and attacking somebody and keeping people warned. While this person is shamed, the older, let's say it's a male female thing. The female sees an older male who's going out and abusing. There's no harm in her taking that guy aside and going, fucking straighten up, or we'll do this, as well as go up to the young ladies and go, you don't want to hang around with that guy, you want to hang around with us. And that's sadly, cliques are going to prevail. There's going to be segregation, absolutely, but it has to happen until people grow up.
Yeah.
And run a professional ship.
Now, on the reverse of that actual question, of course, I heard the other side of it, including actually publicly, but then privately as well. The question was, well, how do we stop false accusations? Should it be a criminal offense to falsely accuse someone? And for the record, it is actually against the law in most states, if not all of them. I think it's all of them now after last year, that you cannot accuse someone of rape and it be not considered legally rape. Now, of course, you'd have to be lying about the whole thing if there's a misunderstanding about alcohol or something like that, and the girl blacked out but she was into it, or the guy blacked out and they were into it at the time. That law hasn't caught up. No one knows how to handle that just yet. We're still trying to figure that out, because that's also, well, then can adults not drink? That's weird. We're not talking about that. What I'm talking about is the regret. Like we've heard today, as we've said a couple of, I think even I've said it. People that have a relationship, the next day they regret it for whatever reason. That's not rape. That's just a bad time. We all have bad times. That they're talking about, because the idea is, and Randy brought this up, the groups, the Whisper Network that's out there to cancel
Boys
people.
clubs.
Well, also
Well, the
Circling the
girls-
wagons.
the
The
girls
girls and
do that.
girls club, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the girls can. Yeah.
specifically the Whisper Network that's going
The
around.
cliques in general, yeah.
There's a rumor about a Whisper Network. I'm not going to go into it, but there is a rumor about a Whisper Network trying to deliberately cancel people.
Mhm.
Should that be illegal? That was the question I was asked to ask tonight. Should it be illegal to gather together deliberately to harm people as if you are the legal system? Because in a way, that's kind of what they're acting like, right? The legal
Well,
system.
I think you're going to see some definite definition of torturous interference with the Zach Wade case. And maybe we shouldn't have named names, but that case is actually out there and on the books.
Yeah.
And that hopefully that will set a precedent that will make some people wake up and think twice about their behavior and be more professional in this industry. Now, any torturous interference that can be proven is illegal, needs to be sued, needs to happen. Absolutely. Needs to happen.
Yeah. There needs to be repercussions for anything, for false accusations and things like that, because you can take down a person, you can ruin their life, they can
Exactly.
lose their job, they can lose their family.
Yep.
And when people are throwing false accusations, there's no merit or anything except for the motivation to tear a person down.
And again,
For
that
whatever
goes in,
reason.
that goes in every direction.
That's right. It goes in every direction. I mean, if you're going to hurl false accusations and then all of a sudden it just snowballs into this whole movement that is going to try and cancel you and ruin you, there has to be consequences for the people who do that. Are there? I mean, is it, most people, when they get hit in the pocketbook, they tend not to do it again.
I think you're slowly but surely going to see that defined over the next decade. I really do. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff flown. I think you're going to see a lot of lawsuits and a lot of muddling in order to get us to grow up. But it's got to happen. It's got to happen.
But also, to answer your question, Meredith, yes, you can. Randy's right. There should be more lawsuits. There was someone who said things about me that were completely false to the point of legally actionable. I actually spoke to a lawyer. The lawyer said, yeah, you'd win your case. Here are 3 questions for you. Did he hurt you? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, did he hurt your business? Can he really hurt you? Can this person somehow stop you? And I'm like, no. He's like, okay, so you're not suing for money. So what are you suing for? How rich do you really think this person is? Because do you want to pay $18,000 to be right? So there is a little bit of that. And because you only can go to civil court. What we're trying to hope, I don't know if Varian, did you want to come in? You literally have the keys and you're in the back.
Well, yeah, I heard something you said earlier, and I was like, well, I want to get on here and touch on that. But you said, and I'm going to be the bad guy here for a second. I'm just gonna echo.
Thanks for using my monkey as your avatar.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
You're
Well, yeah. When Randy changes the avatar, changes for everybody on the service. So, unless you're already signed in, then you can keep it. But the thing is, what you mentioned, you said young person. In this case, and I think in the example you had was a young female meets a male creator, says, hey, come under my wing. I'm going to teach you X, Y, and Z. I'm going to open some doors for you. They keep doing this, and this keeps happening over and over and over again. And we start saying, man, what are these guys doing? Why are these guys taking advantage of these women? These guys are sick. And I just want to say something. You know what? Maybe it's not the guys that are sick. Maybe it's our industry that's sick. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's the way things have been done for so long that's sick, and it has to change. We've got
parts of our industry.
Yeah.
Not the whole industry. Parts of our industry. The Daily Beast article and that Time article, they want to go and cancel the entire industry.
No. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work. But and I don't think that's what we should be looking at. But I do think that if you have, first of all, we need to start something where, look, there are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts. There's no, I'm going to come in and go under this guy. And yeah, I may have to flash a little tail, and, maybe I have to lay under him for a couple of nights. But that's going to open doors for me. That's wrong. That can't be done. And we need to, if we hear that's what they're trying to do, nope, there's a door. I mean, because there are guys out there who know that that's what they're trying to do now. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, I can't wait to the next, and it's not all females. I hate to say guys, but there are predators out there who are saying, I can't wait till I get the next opportunity to get someone under my wing that I can take advantage of. Look what I've done to Luke Stone. I've taken him under my wing. Okay. I make sure that he washes his beard in strawberry mocha shampoo now. That's the way I like it. Okay, he wears those cute little hats.
So you made a good point. Now you're ruining it.
I think that we need to have a conversation as industry about what is acceptable on both sides.
Well,
And if we do, and if we have people coming in saying, "Oh, well, I'm willing to sleep my way to the top," because there was a young lady at Wizard who made that claim. She was a part of management at Wizard on the convention floor, and she made that claim loudly and proudly that she was trying to sleep her way to an A-list celeb. Which I don't know how you're gonna get those at Wizard, but you know, she was gonna get one day.
But I do want to just step in for a minute and ask this question, Bearing, you brought it up. You said our industry's sick. I would double back to you and say that our world is sick right now. There's something wrong in the world with the way that we treat each other.
Yep.
It's not like that Aerosmith, and I think it's a Beatles song originally, but I know it from Aerosmith. There's something wrong with the world today and everything that I've got. You know, that
Well,
is that.
I don't think it's a sick as much as I think it's a course correction.
Yes,
As we as an industry, and a lot of the other industries, especially the entertainment industries, are thankfully being made to grow up and be considerate and to take care of business. There's a time and place for everything. Time for business, time for fun, and we need to separate that and keep it separated and have our fun respectably.
And the thing is, I mean, the reason why I focus on the industry is because that's what I know. I can't begin to fathom how to fix the whole world.
Well, you know Harvey
But-
Weinstein.
But I can.
You had him on
I
your
can-
Rolodex there for a while.
But I can't.
With the cannons inward variant and act like this is just us. I think we have to admit, hey, it's not like Randy said. Look at the music industry. Kesha, famous battle right there. Oh my God, heartbreaking to hear that. Even what's her Taylor Swift, the things that she's accusing people of, and she seems respectable. You know, then Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby. Oh my God, you're breaking. Well, not Weinstein, but Cosby was heartbreaking.
Tom Hanks, Tom Cruise.
No,
Look at all
not
that
Tom
stuff.
Hanks. Not Tom Hanks.
Sorry, we weren't supposed to name names.
Not Tom Hanks. They can't have Tom Hanks. He's the only one left.
You think that volleyball was safe?
Oh,
Never mind.
Well, I will say this: it's not just the
Luke,
music or the movie or the comics industry.
Luke, introduce yourself. You're on the radio.
Oh.
They can't see you.
Oh,
Luke
yeah.
Stone
Hi.
is here, everybody.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
Luke Stone. Luke Stone from terraformcomics.com. Join the mailing list. Yeah. So most of you guys know what I do for a living. I'm in
Push up
ministry,
rope.
so
No, sorry.
I'm a pastor first and foremost. And I'll be honest with you, the problem that we're discussing in comics, it exists everywhere. There, in the course of the last couple of years, especially among the young men who are kind of rising up in Christian entertainment and ministry and stuff like that, they find themselves in some situations where, you know, young girls, attractive girls are looking at them as, you know, an opportunity to improve their career. You know, they're like, hey, they've got connections. They look up to them as, you know, men of God. And unfortunately, we've had situations where these people will, they will make choices that are not conducive or in line with their spiritual beliefs. And what winds up happening is they exploit these dreams and aspirations of these young girls for their own personal gain. One case recently, and he's been silent for 8 months until just now, is a Christian comedian by the name of John Christ. And he is, I mean, super funny guy.
We're trying not to name names, but that's okay. He's a public.
Well, it's,
figure,
I mean,
so go ahead.
it's totally public figure. Everyone knows about it
Yeah,
in
go ahead.
our world, you know, so it's not anybody, it's nothing that no one doesn't already know about unless you aren't in that kind of, haven't seen that in the news. But he got in a situation where he was called out by some young ladies, you know, where he used their desire to try to get connections into the comedic Christian industry and different connections and outlets that he had, and he exploited those for his own personal gain. And again, it was one of those situations where kind of when he got what he wanted, he kind of ghosted these ladies, and it never really went anywhere from there. And no, it's not illegal, but it's really icky. It's really, really icky, and it shouldn't happen. And I don't think anyone should exploit someone's hopes and dreams and their aspirations for their own personal gain. And it's very difficult to legislate against those things now, isn't it?
Yeah. Meredith?
Yeah, I just want to pop in here, Randy. I love what you said about it. It seems like we're on a course correction. I really love that. But here's my perception of it. I think for quite a few years, maybe even decades, I think that there's been a slow dumbing down of society. I mean, when we get to a point where we have to put "do not iron while wearing your clothes" on our equipment and stuff like that, there's something wrong on a much broader level that needs to happen. Where we need warning labels for stuff that should be common sense, and unfortunately, common sense I don't think is common anymore. And I don't know if you guys have anything, any thoughts about that. But again, I really feel that there has been a slow dumbing down, or maybe it's just putting blinders on, or la la la. I don't want to see it. And when we get to that point where we don't want to see it, we don't want to talk about it, we don't want that controversy, we don't want to, unfortunately, that causes us to not fix it because we're not facing it.
I should point out that Meredith lives in Florida, and me moving down to Florida, there's a lot more stupid down here. I'm not trying to be rude, not even a little bit. I'm from New York. There's dumb people up in New York, but some of the stuff that goes down here, I literally had a person at stop when they could have made a U-turn. I honked at them, and their answer was to slam on the brakes and then try to give me the finger. And then when they saw who I was, deliberately tried to stop their car in the middle of the road and almost get hit by another car. You don't see that up north. So
yeah, you do.
I don't.
You know what?
That's because you're in Florida. I'm up here in Michigan.
Yeah, you've not been to Michigan.
I see the same. It's like that all over, Rob. It's not just Florida.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe it is.
A special kind of stupid was like today, literally, there was a truck with about 6 people in the back of it, and they had a huge trampoline in the back. They were trying to Rob's cracking up over there. A huge trampoline, and you've got 6 people hanging onto this thing like a damn kite driving down the street.
Yeah, so I live in Duval.
Up here, it would be down the expressway.
Yeah, so I do live in Duval County, which is more like South Georgia than it is North Florida here in Florida. So, but yeah, there's quite a bit of it's a special kind of stupid that you can see. But I would say that there are pockets of that everywhere. I'm originally from Indiana, and we had all kinds of really dumb things that happened there. But it seems more concentrated. I will agree with the other Floridians that it seems a little more concentrated here. And I think only because the population is higher. And, but, to kind of speak to what Meredith was saying earlier, it's on the coffee cups now have to say caution hot. It was common sense that it used to be hot, but part of the reason why we have to even address that now is because some moron took hot coffee, stuck it in their crotch, and it spilled on them, and they got burns, and they were able to sue McDonald's for money. Where our judicial system has helped us in some areas, it's failed us in other areas. You can sue someone for your own stupidity now, but yet like the situation Rob was just talking about, you can't take someone to court for defamation because it's going to cost you more than what you're going to earn from it.
You also have to remember we're in the most accessible time ever. So stupid is always going to get out in front of smart on this. I think people have always certain people have always lacked a certain level of common sense. It's just that now we got Fail Army, and we have all of these great video shows that we get to look at. Jackass is a really good example, and be able to point at people and go, dude, that's really stupid.
Yeah, we have
and Florida man especially helps. The media kind of helps usher that along by finding the crazy and the bizarre in order to point out and talk about, what they did here, because we have just as many crazy people up here in Michigan do stupid things. Usually, unfortunately, here around Flint, it's usually violent and hurtful. But I think it's like that everywhere. It's just the media is making stupid a lot more accessible.
Well, we also live in a culture where people can pull out a camera now and catch the news immediately.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, we never had that before. So I've always said it. If I grew up in this generation, I would have been in so much more trouble than I ever was when I grew up.
Flying a trampoline as a kite probably happened all the time.
Yep.
It's just now somebody's going to capture it on video, stick it up on Facebook. It's going to go viral all over Twitter, and it'll be on Fail Army for years.
Yeah,
I do want to.
That's the way it works.
Go ahead, Luke.
I was just going to say there's kind of two things to that. It's always been the Florida Man news because Florida is one of those states that has complete transparency in the media. So you always hear about Florida Man more than you would hear about everybody else. But the other thing is I try not to have knee-jerk reactions to some of the stuff that you see out in the media right now, because a wise person once told me that a lie can travel around the globe 3 times before the truth even has the time to put its boots on. And
So true.
yeah.
And I do want to switch to the topics. This is a great segue. I do believe, and here's the truth. If I want to talk about anyone who's done something wrong, I can expect 3 to 5 times the amount of views, shares, likes, conversation with a topic that is negative versus when I share all the positive. And it's funny because when I did debates, people are like, all you do is debates. I'm like, no, I literally do more of everything else. No one pays attention to that. You want to come and you all want to debate each other. I'm getting likes, I'm getting shares on the other stuff, but I'm getting there are threads we had thousands of comments. It's ridiculous. And then views, we get thousands of views when it's negative, and no one wants that. So it's true. And I think it's because we have moral issues in our country right now. I have personally videoed people that have strapped snowmobiles to the top of their cars. It's everywhere. Fair enough, Brandon. Fair enough. But at least
everywhere. It's everywhere.
They have wheels on top of their car now. But no, I think, and this is an interesting question. Do you think that in America, and the only way I can frame this without going any other way, is do you think we have lost our collective way when it comes to our morals? For whatever reason in this world right now, I think that we are at the lowest moral point that we have seen in recorded history, a point where we, like media recorded, not written down, but with newspapers and all that. I think that overall, I think people are, like Randy said, are being exposed to the darkness of humanity like we've never seen it before, and it's lowered the bar. Kardashians are more important than NASA and Tesla's rockets. They get more views than that important moment. Do you think that we're having a crisis of morals across the country and the world right now? Do you think that's some of the problems we're dealing with?
Oh, I do.
So talk to us.
Well, I mean, I think we've seen, as we've kind of watched it in our societies continually, things that used to be kind of moral, kind of these strong moral things that we used to agree on. You don't do this, you don't do that, or this is the right way to treat someone, this is the wrong way to treat someone. I mean, even let's be honest, we have had a problem with bigotry in our society, and I feel like we're getting better with some of that, or maybe we're seeing some of the ugly that maybe we haven't seen before. We've had problems with inequality with the sexes in the workplace, but we're starting to see those things turn around. But at the same time, we used to care more about the family unit. We used to care more about people. People's lives were more important than stuff and possessions. And now I think we can. Hopefully we can all agree that we're starting to see our society kind of lean more towards the importance of an ideology versus a human life. People are willing to kill over an idea where they were never, where I don't feel like they were willing to do that before. Especially just seeing, if you look at the hatred and the poison that spews out on Facebook and social media and Twitter, these cesspools of negativity, where people are, they're more violent, they're more rage filled. It's just, I feel like, it's kind of gone spiraling downwards morally in our country.
Hold on,
We've made some steps forward, but
I do see your hand, but I think Varian was trying to chime in and I can't see him. Varian, were you trying to say something before? Because I saw your mic come off of mute. No. Oh, hey, when you get a second, just tell us the numbers, because I do want to do that. We're going to read comments in a few seconds, but I want to continue this. Meredith, go ahead.
I want to speak again to motivation. I think a lot of the downhill stuff that we're seeing is motivation. There isn't anybody on this panel here who grew up with the internet. Am I correct? We didn't have the internet until we were much older. We already had kind of like our moral code and that compass that we go by. The younger generation, unfortunately, they grew up with the internet. and and there was that joke: if it's on the internet, it must be true, which is unfortunate. Whereas, when you're seeing stuff, when you're seeing these trends with these kids doing dangerous things because somebody was doing it and they were an influencer and they want to be internet famous now, they're having that Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck moment. What was it, The Last Trick? You remember that one where Daffy Duck says, "I can only do this once," and he blows himself up. That was it. End game. We don't have a reset button. I think a lot of the kids these days, they don't realize that there's no reset button. You can't redo it. What you're putting on the internet will stay on the internet. We don't have that.
I'm going to be the rude person and say that's natural selection, and I don't mind it. And I'm more scared about the adults in the room not doing the right thing. Randy.
Again, I think it's because people are more socially accessible. And the fact that you're going to see a pendulum swing here happen, that yes, people are doing stupid things. People are, seeing violent things. When we were growing up, we had Bugs Bunny doing violent things. Nothing ever came out of that. But because they can see their neighbor now, do a wrestling trick where they end up falling and breaking a table from 2 stories up, they want to do that too. Well, that only goes for so long. And like Rob says, you're going to see Darwinism kick in and people realize, dude, you're stupid. And I think you're going to see that pendulum start swinging back here any time as more people realize people get hurt. People are, a little bit more empathy is coming through. I think that's why we're having these discussions now about abuse and that we're slowly getting more empathetic, slowly starting to care more for our fellow man, and hopefully that. But I could be an optimist. It's only going to take. It's going to take a matter of time to see how that works out. But on the bright side, Jackass isn't on the air anymore.
Well, is it empathy?
Even though Beavis and Butthead's getting rebooted, but I bet they won't be the same Beavis and Butthead that were out originally.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's empathy.
Well,
I like to think that I'm a positive person, but I think it might be a certain amount of immunity.
I do know that Luke wanted to chime in. What do you have?
Yeah, I was going to say there's a bit of detachment from the actual human condition, I think, with people because of social media. People live their lives through a screen, and it's based on likes and shares. And in fact, I just saw someone kind of complaining today about, when they share things that are geared towards their art, they don't get any responses from it, but yet they're, political and kind of their other stuff, their controversial stuff, the stuff that, we don't really want to be famous for. That stuff gets tons of engagement. But the stuff they want to get, they want to do doesn't get a lot of engagement. And I think the reason why is because we create these online personas and these online personalities. And there are things that people will say to an individual through a little 4-inch screen that they would never say to them face to face. And I think that's part of the problem. We don't know how to communicate with one another. And I love the movie Hitch. The movie Hitch talks about communication and how, only so much of it is words, but some of it is body language, some of it is touch, some of it is tone. We lose so much of communication when all we ever do is read a text. And we never listen to a voice, we never see a face, body language, but people get really bold and they say a lot of things that are I just, if you just put them in the middle of a room together, I think some of this stuff, like, people would not treat each other the way that they do. And I feel like that they've dehumanized each other and themselves. And because they've been trying to live for likes and shares, and that's what's important to them. Meredith, you're absolutely right. I didn't get the internet until I was like in my teens, early teens. And we didn't use the internet for a lot of stuff. We had a website for our band, and that was about it. We did a couple of like chat rooms, but everyone was worried about chat rooms and, sexual predators and all that kind of stuff. But we actually got to know, we went out on Friday night, we did things, and we had human interaction. And so a lot of this generation, especially now during the quarantine situations where people are going through, life is lived through a computer screen or a phone screen. And I feel like that has been really detrimental towards the spiral down and Tory Hill said it. It's our sinful nature. I totally agree with that. We kind of have this nature to kind of gravitate towards the more negative side of things, and it takes work, and it's outside of our nature to want to be more positive. But Randy, I also agree with you. I'm seeing people say, you know what, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of the negativity. I'm sick of living for likes and shares, and I want to have more I want to have more personal interaction. I want to be good. I want to leave the wood pile higher than I found it. There are people that are finally getting sick of it. It's like, why do we always have to fight over this or that? Can't we just come together and find the good in humanity and build something up? Mm-hmm. It is changing.
I do want to not blame the internet a little bit. I think that blaming the internet's a cheap way out. I think the realistic thing is that we've always been this ugly, and the internet's just showing how ugly we are and how ugly we've become. Mm-hmm. And I think, like Randy said, there's going to be a pendulum swing, because humanity's done this before. We've been assholes to each other before. This is not new. It's new in the recorded history of modern times that we've been this vile, but we've been there before. We've done this before, and there's always a swing backwards from it. That's why you have these different periods in history. I think the internet just shows people, because like Luke said, people say, well, this is just the internet. Don't take it so serious, buddy. And it's like, no, this isn't just the internet. It's not robots you're talking to. You're not playing D&D. They're real human beings here. Go ahead, Randy, and then Meredith.
I think you've seen well, if you've been alive as long as I have, you've seen a couple of these pendulum swings. Take, for example, we'll bring this back to comics, underground comics. You don't see any really vile underground comics anymore. Where'd they go? Back in the 60s, there was some really vile, very horrible underground comics out there. And there was also a lot of incredible, super incredible work. But they weren't afraid to go out there and start testing some limits. Is this wrong? Is this wrong? Is this wrong? Oh, I guess that was wrong. Maybe we won't do that again. That kind of thing. That's it's the same thing now. The kids are learning that they get hurt. The people are learning about feelings, mentality, empathy, keeping. It's going to take a while for us to find a moral center. As a people, as a group, people are finding their moral centers all the time. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But I think it'll balance out in the long run.
And to be clear, I'm not blaming the internet. The internet is just a tool. Literally, it's just a tool.
Yeah.
People have always been this stupid. It just hasn't been on the internet. It hasn't been documented. But people, again, it speaks to a deeper psychology with the motivations of people. Why do we do the things we do? Why do we play King of the Hill when we're younger? Because we want to knock that kid down and we want to be King of the Hill. There are so many things. So I'm not blaming the internet. That is the superhighway of stupidity as well as information. I've learned how to fix a computer because of the internet. I've learned how to do a lot of things because of that. So it's a great tool. How we use it, use your minds, people. So I don't want to say that I blame the internet. People are generally just that stupid. I'm
not really blaming it as much as it's coming there. That's like you said, it's a tool to bring the stupid out and put it on display.
Yeah. And the one thing that I really fear, sorry, Luke, just really quickly, I fear that pendulum swing because it always goes to one extreme to the other.
It really does.
To the other.
It does.
And at
really
what point
does.
does it slow down, and hit that middle ground? I don't know.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say,
So about 2040s, women are going to be in long dresses, dressed head to toe.
Thank God I'll be dead by then.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not blaming the internet. But I'm saying you're right. It's a tool. It's a great tool, and since the internet has been more prevalent, I have met a lot of great tools as well. So, yeah. But yeah, there is that pendulum swing, and so whenever you go from like one, it's
look at rock and roll, for example. Rock and roll used to have some crazy stuff. Now it seems to be all pop.
Yeah, and prohibition. If you think about that, like during that time, it was like things got really out of control with alcohol, and so they like, hey, we gotta, and so they we have it, our society.
You had a whole group of gangsters back in the 30s that were notorious and sometimes beloved because they were acting like Robin Hoods running around.
You know, I knew the pendulum had begun to swing this way. First time I read an article about the police charging a guy, and I believe it was India, with sex by deception. And he said that he was Snoop Dogg's tour manager. And I couldn't believe they bring this man up on charges. And I said, oh my goodness, if that's the case, wait until they can stretch this till like, well, Your Honor, I had sex with him, but he ain't shit. You know?
No, but Vernon, I don't think you one time, just for shits and giggles, honestly, go back and read all the laws that are actually on file in a lot of states that they don't just pay attention to. And every so often, some lawyer, prosecutor decides to bring someone up on it. There are laws about cheating, not just in a marriage, but cheating. Like if you promise to stay with a woman and you don't, you might have to pay her alimony the rest of her life in some states. Still active in Florida, very much so. Because when I was going through the divorce proceedings, I had to look up active laws because you can do that. If someone's adulterated you, you can have them arrested in states. You ask whether they do it or not. It's different. It's amazing laws that we just don't ignore anymore. Like I said, we moved away from our moral core. And I think it's dangerous. And I don't know, Varian, I'm going to ask you directly this. This is how I feel. I feel that we are more segregated now than we have ever been since the 1950s in America. We have segregated ourselves into little pockets that no longer talk to each other, that no longer see each other, and just can't wait to lob things at the other side and try to attack the other side.
That's because you pay too much attention to politics.
Yeah, I think that's what the media would have you believe. I go outside my door and I don't see it.
Yeah,
I honestly don't.
I see it at cons where there is problems starting. There
Well,
are
yeah.
people trying to get people outed. There are people trying to, the whisper networks that are out there, comic. You can't say it's not there. It is.
Oh, absolutely, but but those places are just like an extension of this make believe world we have.
Oh, yeah,
I'm talking about when I go out and I go to the car dealership to look at a car. When I go out and I go to the supermarket, I don't see all of this hatred.
Well, because that's what Randy said. It's the one-on-one. The minute you take two people and put them in a room, they're human again. You put 10 people versus one person. On the internet, how many times do we see one person say something and they're about to back down because the other person's putting facts, and then 9 of their friends show up and suddenly they're all emboldened? Could be completely wrong. And I guess I'm talking about you flat earthers. You're still getting shots tonight. You're still getting shots thrown at you. Flat earthers, it's not flat. So, with that said, but you know what I mean, Varian? Like sometimes you get a group of stupid and they think a lot of voices make you right.
Well, yeah, I mean, everyone wants to be in an echo chamber. Not everyone, but some people, they get emboldened by being in an echo chamber. See, I told you I was right. Have you ever in a situation when you were a kid disagreed with your mother and your father came and said, whoa, what's going on? And you told him your side of the story and she said what was going on and he said, well, he's right. And you felt like turning around and like Hadouken when you Hadouken hitting your mother, like just like hitting her like the most, like the biggest chi bomb you could fucking find and summon, like gotcha, bitch, because you were right.
Every state has their weird laws.
No, in my house it was shut up and listen to your mom. My old man didn't want to hear a damn thing. It didn't matter. I could have been so right. I could have been 100% right. My dad got home. Shut up. Listen to your mom.
Listen.
That smell the shoe.
I'm telling you right now that when your father's like, well, it's like, I'm right. Eat it up.
You didn't get beat, did you? I got beat. Like
oh, I did. But there were times I
got beaten. Like if I didn't listen, it was beatings. My dad died, and I suddenly was like, wait, there's no one to hit me anymore. I can do things finally. I can live.
That was me at 17 as soon as I got out of the house.
Well, no, I mean, like for me, I got beaten, but I mean, I didn't, like when I was right.
There was no right. You're missing it. Like I'm Irish.
Yeah.
You're absolutely. I'm Irish and Ukrainian. There's never right. Listen to your elders. Shut up. But literally, she almost drove off the road. Did she? No, she didn't. You're alive. She knew what she was doing. And meanwhile, my dad's fighting with her because he would scream at my mom. We'd hear, why are you being so stupid? Things like that. But in front of us, when they thought we were there, they had to act like each other was right. Because that's how they did it. They pretended that they trusted each other and then hated each other privately. This is the family I had, the wonderful childhood I had. Thank you for bringing up harsh memories, Graham.
But no, like it was that part of that echo chamber, like, aha, Dad's got my back. And I believe that sometimes people like to have that. They like to have, hey, this person. Well, that's why when people post art online that was subpar, and everyone's like, great job, and you're like, but you don't. They're going there and say, because you know what'll happen.
Oh yeah.
Katrina says, I wonder if the one in Michigan about women not cutting their hair without husband's permission is still active. Katrina,
that is still active and enforced.
No, it isn't.
It's enforced in my home.
Oh, well, it might be enforced in your home, but I can tell you it's not active.
Yeah, it's enforced in my home.
Sorry.
I like it.
Or my wife would have a lot longer hair.
Yeah, same.
I have a real problem with the idea that, like, up until like a certain age, if my wife wanted to have a what do you call that? The thing where they can't have babies, the tubal
ligation.
I don't know. There you go, tubal ligation. That they couldn't do it without husband's approval, but yet the husband could go and get the vasectomy without the wife's approval. And I'm like, that seems like a double standard. These are laws still in the books that are still enforced in many states. And I think, that we need to start addressing those things and like really finding ourselves to equality. I've got two strong women in my household, my wife and my daughter. And they can make decisions for themselves. They don't need some man to help them.
I'll tell you.
Double ligation.
Tubal ligation. There we go. Double ligation.
I'll tell you guys two quick stories about women that I've known. I knew a girl that I dated in high school, and she was very into the church. And she came to school one Monday, and she said, "Vera, I tell you something." And I'm like, "Well, what's up?" Because we're seniors, 18. And she says, "I have to submit myself to you." And I say, "So what? What?"
Come again?
Said, well, I was talking to the pastor, and he told me that God was over man, man was over woman, and woman is over child. And I'm thinking, submit yourself to me. She's like, yeah, so if you need something, you let me know, and I will do it. And I'm thinking, like, this is the best thing ever. Unfortunately, what she didn't know was that she wasn't supposed to be submitting herself with so many guys. She was submitting herself to a whole lot of guys around. Some of them in our class.
She was sending out multiple submissions. Is that what?
Yeah. But the only other time that I had a situation that I heard like that, and I wasn't dating the girl, but she said,
"That's not the way it worked out for me."
She told me, she said, I want to tell you guys, I understand the bro code. And I'm like, well, this is like,
bro code.
If you're a guy and you're in the club and a girl is throwing it at you, you got to take her home or take her somewhere. You got to. I get it. I understand. She's tossing it at you. You have to. And so I'm like, well, what are you talking about? So you're okay with it? She said, I understand. The only thing I ask is that you don't come back home and throw it in my face, what you've done. And I looked at it and I said, so let me get this straight. Let's say me and you were dating. I go to the club. I meet a chick there. I take her to a bar, or to a motel. I do what I have to do with her, leave home. I come home and decide it's your time now. And she's like, are you going to bathe at first at least? And I'm like, oh my God, this girl is completely warped. Even I knew she was warped in the head.
Quinn, you didn't realize what she was telling you. That when she goes out, she throws herself at dudes. And when she gets home, she takes a shower before she fucks you.
Yeah, but she wasn't dating me. But yeah, she was.
You just missed it. I've never met a girl who doesn't cheat say it's okay to go out there that's not polyamorous. Polyamory is a whole different thing. Yeah. But any girl who tells you, oh, no, I get it. Sometimes things happen. She cheating on you, dude. She's got someone else's in her mouth. She's got someone else's in her mouth right before she told you that.
But the thing was, the reason why I brought that up is because, again, you're seeing that now. like our society, even back then, is so weird and so people's standards are all over the place.
Remember, there was a time when the president's mistresses never got talked about in the news. It was just accepted. He's a president. What do you expect him to do? Like, people throwing it at him. He's just going to have to go to the back, take care of it.
Yeah.
But see, there's the part of our problem. I think that's what we're running into in the comics industry is we've got all these, like Randy was saying, these old boys clubs guys, and they would locker room talk like, hey, who did you get? Yeah. And all that kind of stuff. And it goes back to that. Let's have some respect and professionalism for one another. It doesn't matter what parts you've got, doesn't matter. Honestly, I don't care who people go to the bed with. I really have zero care about that.
Your internet.
Are you a good writer? Are you a good artist? Are you a good writer? Do you tell good stories? I could care less about what and who's between your legs. I really could.
I'll say this. You want to see something cringeworthy? Go rewatch Cheers. Seriously. Watch how they cheered Sam Malone on for getting women to do things, for getting women to sleep with him, the different lies that he tells, even How I Met Your Mother. I know that they turned Barney good by the end of the story, but, I mean, he did a lot of shady stuff that was – I mean, they tried to sort of call him out on it, but they didn't. A reflection of our society, like Randy said, we're children who dress up as adults. And we've been doing that for a very long time. And I think some of it's just the fact that we live too long now. You used to die by the time you were 25, 30. You didn't have time for any of that. You had to raise a family. You were working at 15. You had kids by 18. You had your whole family set up. You didn't have time for this nonsense. We get bored now at 40 for a midlife crisis. Think about it. If you died at 30, that meant your midlife crisis was at 15. 15, if you're a guy, you were making babies back then. You didn't have time for a midlife crisis. You had babies crying. And I do think we don't reflect that.
In many ways, we're maturing as a society. That's why you look back at Cheers and you can point at it and say, that's wrong.
Yep.
That's the whole point behind this. That's the whole point behind our discussion is the fact that times are changing. We need to change. And there has to be an air of empathy and an air of respectability out there in every direction. And yet on the other hand, you shouldn't go out and cancel Cheers. You shouldn't say that shouldn't come out. But you should be able to have a discussion with your kid if you're sitting there going, I remember this show, and all of a sudden you sit back at what, the boy network of what Sam's getting away with and go and tell your kids that's improper behavior. That's how they learn. You can't just go out and say, oh, that's Cheers, click, we're turning that off. That ain't ever going to be on again.
Walmart every night.
So on Netflix, you can go back and you can watch all of the old Andy Griffith Show stuff. And so I've been going back and watching it with my family. And Andy was kind of a jerk. Like he was mean to his best friend Barney. He abused his power. I was like, there's so many things that's wrong with
Why do you think he was single?
I know. It's
Aunt B was worse.
Yeah, I'm like, this
she
is
was
I'm like
pushing Andy around all the time.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, this is morally, there's some issues here.
No, at
but
the
yeah,
time,
that's that kind of.
It was right. Now it's wrong.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to that growth that you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, remember, don't forget that when I Love Lucy and The Honeymooners were filmed, it was still okay for the husband to hit their wife.
That's a constant threat. Send you to the moon, Alice.
It wasn't a threat. There was the one episode that didn't air where he sent her to the moon and they spent the whole time in the hospital. They thought it was too racy for television. I'm getting an email about that, Rob. That's not funny. But there was an episode. It's on Family Guy. Haha, I'm not lying.
Yeah, but I know, Rob, you're kind of joking about, we live too long, but we do have a thing called prolonged adolescence. That really is a thing that sociologists worry about, and so we definitely have to. What's that?
It's called college. All they do is to go there and fuck around. That's it. 4 years, I'm going to screw up because you know what happened? I worked in retail. So at 18, I got a real job. I started working my ass off. I did college on the side at night. And then I was at work. By the time I was 25, I was making more than people twice my age who went to college that didn't know half of what I knew in retail. And that was a simple truth. And they came in immature as shit. And I'm like, dude, get your shit together. I'm like 25 telling a 30-year-old to pull his life together. That's because I was out in the real world getting experience, not over trying to, we're going to go for spring break, man. Let's go spread some corona around.
Yeah.
Like us.
By the time I was 30 years old, I had an 8-year-old had been married for 10 years. And
Your
was well
8-year-old's
into a
been
career.
married for 10 years?
No, I said I had an 8-year-old and had been married for 10 years.
I'm sorry. Just being an ass.
But yeah, so yeah, there's definitely kind of like this whole, I think you're right. I think there's a boredom because people still don't know where they're going. They don't know what they're doing. It's difficult, like to really kind of navigate some of those things because our culture has for so long tried to keep people from. Here's the thing: they don't want you to grow up as far as getting out and doing the things that you should be as an adult, but they also want to grow you up too fast by giving kids information that is well before their years that they're ready for it. They're over sexualizing kid things. Kids are seeing way more about the relationships and even good, bad, and ugly of things in the world that we should probably shield some of our 3 and 5-year-olds from some of this stuff. But we're bombarding them with that. But at the same time, we're wanting them to stay in the nest longer.
All the more importance to be a responsible parent.
Yeah, that's really what comes down to. Be a better parent. I'm a single parent. I watch what my son watches. He gets his phone taken away when he watches something he shouldn't. And there's something. It's not that. It's the lack of parenthood. You nailed it. The family unit has been destroyed because both family members have to work. If they're even staying together, I'm in a divorce. I feel horrible for my son. I would have stayed longer. I know it's not healthy for me, and my friends hate when I say it, but I would have stayed longer for his benefit because a 2-parent household is better than a 1-parent household. And it's just the truth. And you can't always choose it. People die, things happen, but we're not focusing on family. I mean, we don't. We used to be, remember, it takes a village to raise a kid. When I was being raised, the whole neighborhood knew who I was. I fucked up. It got home before I did.
Yeah, but that was the village. That wasn't the village raising you. That was the village watching out for you and telling your immediate parents that you needed a little bit of extra raising on your behind.
Yeah. And now
Speaking of family focus, Varian, what's our numbers? Are you there, buddy? We also have a question about how's your neck. Are you around? Are you available?
Are you
going
peeing?
once?
I think he's peeing. He's definitely peeing.
He must be.
Okay. He'll come back and we'll ask him again. But no, I definitely think the family's not a focus. And you see it statistically. If you're in a single parent, like my dad died when I was younger, and I'll be honest with you, it screwed me up. Not having a dad, not having a male role model. I went through a lot. I didn't have it. My uncles tried. To their benefit, they tried. They'd never even been dating really, let alone been a parent. My grandfather tried, but he was off the boat, the Ukraine. We had a different ideology. He didn't understand the world I was growing up in. He didn't understand what was going on in the world because he hadn't seen it. He'd come over, been successful. He was retired.
There he is.
Yeah.
How's your neck?
It is.
Inquiring Minds and Tory Hill wants to know.
It is decreased in size. I've regained some mobility. The pain is down. However, it is opening and draining profusely. So I've had to keep it, clean. And
it's good to know the exorcisms are working.
Yeah, it's just keeping my eye on it, making sure that it doesn't, turn into anything else. You definitely want to keep that area clean because, as you guys know, I'm susceptible to MRSA. My neck is a little too close to my brain for MRSA. I don't know about you guys.
I wouldn't worry about your brain. You're fine.
Yeah.
You should be fine. Fine.
But so I've been doing that and trying to get this skin condition of mine under control. But it's coming along. I hope to be up and around very shortly.
It's good news. Though. Thank you for sharing. You happen to be near the computer to give us the radio number? If you're not, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I can give you the radio number, actually. I had it pulled up here. You are at, sir, 1 second. You are at 32,610 people listening. 32,610 listeners.
We appreciate each and every one of you.
Hell yeah.
Every one of you.
Your top.
And I would like to start thanking you all by name. John, thank you very much. Katrina, thank you very much.
Your best country right now is Italy.
Oh, hello, Italy.
Hello, Italia.
Big fan of your food
Yes.
and your art. And your art.
And then Meredith is trying to show off that she has the Indie Volt app. I do not because I'm on iOS. iOS is being well. Let's just be honest. They're being racist towards variant. You heard it here first. They're being racist towards variant.
Well, what we'll do is now, if you're listening in the U.S., you're going to be delayed. So there's a slight delay in the U.S. There's about an hour, or for this show, about a 2-hour delay actually for this show. So the U.S. people can. But if you're listening in the U.S., you can always listen to us right now.
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube.
Yeah.
But in the U.S., you're going to have to wait 2 hours to hear this show, unfortunately.
It's a little after. It'll be midnight then if you're listening to us on the
There's,
radio
there's
in
a
the
faster
US.
way I could do it, but it takes a lot of coding, guys. So,
All right, so let's do some comments because I don't want to make anyone feel like we're not paying attention to them.
Mhm.
All right, Sarah says, "Oh my God, I wouldn't have been able to sit through that, Meredith. More power to you for being a jury in that situation. Yeah, it's horrible. I'd walk out. I'd be like, no, arrest me. I'll go spend the rest of this in court. I'm not watching that. Fuck you. And I don't care. I would have spent time in jail. I give you a lot of credit for that." Naomi Comics says laws are there for a reason, and it all should go through the legal system. If it doesn't, then you are allowing opinion to replace law, and that allows people to be punished for wrong think. Yeah, I think he meant thing. If we go down that path, we are saying do not say things we consider out of line in fear of intimidation of being canceled. When we scared people to the point that they're afraid to speak. Well, I don't think we were talking about speaking anyone's mind tonight, though, Niobe Comics. That was never a topic. We weren't talking about being able to speak up. We were talking about direct things. I think there was confusion. Maybe you came in late to that. What people are trying to do is police ourselves, and I think that's the wrong oath to go with. That's not necessarily true. If you look at it right now, the big thing is don't call the cops if you don't have to. I mean, am I wrong, Varian? Isn't that going around now? Don't call the cops over something small. Handle it yourself.
Well, I mean,
That's not how that works.
yeah, I mean, the thing is, we've been told for so long to call the cops. My personal belief is that, listen, like, I think those numbers need to be changed. 1-800 Crime Stoppers. The police don't stop crime.
Appreciate you.
They react and report on it. That's all they do. They're basically the media with guns. Okay. The officers arrive to an actual crime scene. They got to call the detectives in, and there's other people in, there's other specialists in, and to fix things. The cops are meant to kind of break up this fight, send everybody on their merry way, and hope that no one gets in trouble.
Yeah.
But as for people calling the cops, I've been told to call the cops. Don't get in the fight. Just call us. And I think sometimes people listen. Can I cuss on the show? I think I can.
Your network, like
Your show, dude.
Listen,
You can do whatever the fuck you want, buddy.
that shit, man.
as the pussification of this generation continues, you'll see call the cops is going to be the knee-jerk reaction for everything. Call the cops, tell somebody, oh my gosh, this guy wouldn't give me my change back. I'm calling the police.
And yet, the more people that do that and are wrongly, are fined for malicious behavior or for calling the cops for the wrong reason, people are going to learn not to do that and do it in special occasions. Just like that lady that was abusing the dog in the park, and the guy come up and she said, "I'm calling the cops. I'm being threatened because of the color of your skin." She got into huge trouble on top of losing her job and her dog. Yeah, she got fined real hard for doing that because you can't waste an officer's time like that. And again, like society, we're slowly maturing and hopefully getting wiser. Hopefully the police departments are doing the same thing, especially with the you can't dismantle a police force in an area. You can't defund it as much as re-educate it. And that's exactly what has to be done. And it's been done in certain areas, and it's been proven to be really good. So it's not all the cops that are the problem. Shouldn't be afraid to call the police. There are certain bad apples in the department that, yes, still stand on prejudice and still pigeonhole racially profile people. Yes, absolutely. But they have to be educated how not to do that.
And bad methods. But
And bad methods, yes.
and to Larry's point, Niobe Comics over there, you have to remember not all the laws are being followed. Like Randy's saying, we're evolving. We're trying to figure out what works right now.
Mm-hmm.
And this has happened so quickly that the legal system has not had an opportunity to adequately respond to the Me Too movement. They're trying, but it's not easy. You can't just snap a finger and make a law. It goes through committees, subcommittees.
Nothing like that. It's done overnight.
Yeah, it'll get kicked right out by the council. You'll be in Supreme Court in the thing, and it'll just be a waste of time. It's easier to go the right way. Luke, did you want to say something?
I was just going to say, maybe we should just link that Schoolhouse Rock video on how they make a bill for people so that they can understand that it does take a while for these laws to come into place. I kind of get what he's saying. He was thinking like police, like wrong think. If you think wrong, there are people that want to police how you think and kind of, they want to police your First Amendment and those kind of things. And I think those are two separate arguments here.
Yeah.
I think that what we're talking about is people that they are doing things that are morally wrong, but yet maybe they fly underneath a law that doesn't prohibit those things from happening, but it shames an entire industry.
Yeah.
Are we holding those people accountable, or because that's not cancel culture when you hold someone accountable for something they honestly did. Now, even with the case with the lady with the dog, right? There are 2 other stories that you can look up right now that give a different account of that event than what most of us have heard or read.
Well, there was a video. This was one that had a video. She was
but it was the last couple minutes of a video of an encounter that was 10 minutes longer than the video took place.
Oh, I don't care about anything else. I just care that dog was abused in that video.
He's being thrown around.
Yeah,
correct.
So there's all kinds of other things that you can go into those things. And what's going to happen?
It's easy to take a story out of context. Absolutely,
it really is. And what's going to happen is people are going to be afraid to call the cops when they do need to call the cops. And so what they're going to do is they're going to start taking justice into their own hands.
We saw that pop up a week or so ago around here with a couple that pulled out guns because they weren't being allowed to leave a parking lot. Just because there was an altercation over a mask or not a mask.
Yeah.
And they felt so scared, and they felt that it's going to take the cops so long to get there, they both had to jump out and draw weapons in order to be able to back their car out and leave.
Yeah. And then they get charged for brandishing their weapons? Yeah.
They did. They got charged for that. Even though if you look at the entire video in context and the interviews that they had later, they said they were literally scared for their lives.
I do think we're getting a little off topic. I want to read it. We're not doing Second Amendment or First Amendment tonight. We can in the future, but there are a lot of comments, and I just want to get through them. Sarah, I wonder if comics in prison are a major thing with inmates. Never thought of that before. We do know someone in this show. If one of you guys could ask that person, and again, I'm not naming names, but I think you guys know who I'm talking about. Maybe we could ask him if that was a thing and get back to you on that, Sarah. Luke's here, so I'm going to skip Luke's comment. Interesting topic, something that has never crossed my mind. Sarah, I'm glad it's never crossed your mind, because that means it's never affected you, and I'm happy to hear that. Nairobi Comics says, what it seems like people are trying to do is police themselves and others. And I do think you should always police yourself and others, and I think that's the wrong path to go. If there is a real offense, then go to the police. If it's not a law broken, then learn from it and don't fall into the same traps again. And in fairness, Larry's in Canada. There are way different rules than in America. Some things are actually illegal. Some things are actually actionable. We don't have that in America, so we have the First Amendment. So again, not the topic for tonight. Ralph says, and it was that for a long time. I believe he met
Randy. Yeah, he met Randy.
Oh, he did. The next thing is Randy.
Yeah.
Sarah asks, most prisoners are not in the comics. That's not. Whoa, Tori. We don't know. Let's take a poll first. I want to see a comic book come out of a prison. That would be kind of cool.
And again, Tori, accessibility is the key here. If they're sitting in their cell, they're not doing anything. Somebody passes them a comic paper. Guess what? They're probably going to read that thing.
Yep. So military got in it between fights. They were reading comics.
Oh yeah.
Never thought of it before. Makes sense. Tori Hill says, how should I respond to a freelancer who I hired but does send some sexually suggestive emails? I still want my work that I paid for. All right, so Tori, are you saying that you hired a freelancer who sends you sexually suggestive emails, and I want my work that I paid for? You know what? Reach out to me privately. Reach out to me privately, and I'll set up a room where all of us can talk to you about that.
You might, since I don't want to horn in on your conversation, Tori, you might just tell them that what's appropriate and inappropriate behavior in a nice way. Don't say, hey man, that's just violent. I don't want to hear any of that crap.
I would just clarify too. Are they sending the emails to him or to other people?
Well, that's why I said there's a lot there that we kind of can't know by what he had said. So I don't want to dig into it and start saying things that then people can be mad at us for saying because what's going on, guesses here. But Tori, reach out to me. I'm happy to discuss it with you if you need to privately. We just don't have enough to go on that right here.
If I was a publisher, that would probably be what I would do. Is I would take up the problem between the two people personally, especially now that they're streaming. And just a real quick, hey, get in the StreamYard room. Let's talk about this for a second. Don't do this anymore. What are you doing? Come on, do your work. Let's get it done.
And sometimes just getting a third person, like if we can even be like, hey, maybe like Randy said, sit down in a room. Hey, what's going on? What's the deal? How can we get this resolved? Sometimes just seeing faces and being reminded of humanity, like Luke was saying earlier in the program, it matters. It really does. So.
And don't let it fester and boil either. Just take care of the problems matter of factly as possible and be done with it.
Clean up the shenanigans and move on.
Yeah. And Ralph brings up a point we haven't talked about, but we've said in the past, and people should have an opportunity for a second chance. Absolutely. Every person that I've ever publicly outed, if you want to go that way, I've always left the door open. This is what I would like to see you do. This is your road back. This is how I see it happening. I don't ever say anyone should be kicked out. Not even Karen Dixon should be removed forever. It's just going to take a lot of therapy for Karen to come back in. And that's just true.
I'm not sure who you're talking about, but we probably shouldn't be naming names.
It's not a real name. It's
okay.
It's an alias. It's a direct alias.
Sad Karen?
Karen Dixon. Javarian will know who I'm talking about. So do you.
Yeah, well, I would say this too. I totally agree that there should be some opportunity for redemption. We've actually back in one of my home state, there's a pastor who is going through an ordination process with a particular denomination, and he was convicted a number of years ago for some misconduct. He had sent some inappropriate text back and forth with some 17-year-old girls, and he was older. And he shouldn't have been. He was in a position where he shouldn't have been doing that. Well, he's since turned his life around, restored himself. He's now in the church and appointed at a church and doing a very wonderful job as the pastor there. Right. And now he's like 6 months away from receiving his full ordination. And now there's this whole list of pastors that have no idea who he is, have no connection with him whatsoever. But because he did this thing 5-6 years ago and he paid his time, he still can't be a pastor. There's no restoration for him there, which I think, for my personal views, and this is, not necessarily the views of the rest of the panel, but I believe in inside. Yeah, there you go. I believe inside of the church that there is, that the whole point of my faith, Christianity, is the redemptive power of it, to say, hey, you might have been a total a-hole before and a total jerk, but we know that God's capable of fixing you and turning you into somebody better so that you can go and change the world be a better place. And so there has to be some guidelines for what it is in any case, comics or whatever. Yeah, you did this really terrible, despicable thing, but what will be enough for us to say, welcome back? What is that?
And though I don't know your case, point by point, Luke, I have to say that's really sad, especially considering how many parables about forgiveness there are in the New Testament.
Yeah, it's really sad, and it's really sad, and it's a disgusting display.
Yeah. I know Meredith's trying to.
But we're not here to talk religion.
Yeah, I just wanted to say really quickly, when it comes to redemption and things like that, I would rather probably hear the stories and get mentorship and learn from somebody who's actually sinned and redeemed themselves and fixed it and gotten better than somebody who's always been a goody-goody and never did anything wrong. Like, how do you know? how do you know how can you help me when I'm the sinner and I've been, So I mean, I completely agree that that redemption is out there for everybody if they do the work and if they regain the trust again.
I have that trouble every day. I'm such a good two-shoe. I don't know how to relate to anyone.
I know, right?
And
It's so
it's
tough.
And it's to the publisher if there is one to set those parameters. Again, laws aren't easy with freelancing. And yes, I agree with Randy. They should be held accountable. I think that if you find out that a publisher has not done the right thing, even suspending operations while an investigation is done to make sure no legal things have been, legal laws have been broken, I don't support them with your money. Remember, you guys can do that. You guys can choose this. Look it up and go, hey, send the publisher an email. I saw all this. How did you guys handle that? And if they can't answer it to you, that's your right to not give them your money.
Yep.
That's how you want to cancel someone. Don't support them. That's how you cancel someone. That's my rule. I tell the truth about people. I don't make up lies. I don't lie about who they are. I tell people the truth, and I base it on things they've done. Do that, and you'll never have to worry. And ask questions. Always ask questions. Niobe says, haha, it's more than just a rumor. Yes, then should be taken down by Facebook. Again, in America, freedom of speech will not allow that. That's a whole totally different conversation. But no, in America, you'd have, I mean, Facebook's not really freedom of speech, but then there'd be arguments in America whether or not someone is allowed to take down. It'd be a whole different show of nonsense. What if Zach loses the case? Well, that's legal. We can't really do anything. What?
Education. Get an education about this entire case. If you'd actually look without having these biases throw up in your way, you would see there's a reason that Zach and sorry. Sorry to get off topic. There's a reason Zach's got the lawyer he's got. There's a reason the lawyer has taken the case that Zach has. And there's a reason why Wade is constantly stalling this action. If you look at the case, and I know you're up in Canada and you don't know American law, but that lawyer would not take that case, which is his specialty, by the way, unless he was going to win it. So right now, all we're in is a holding pattern while Wade goes out and stalls and tries to get as much money together as he possibly can because that fine's going to be heavy.
And it should be if he's overstepped. We're going to leave the legal system decide that.
Yep. Do a little research into the actual case, Larry. You'll see I'm right.
Ralph Griffin says, where everyone like-minded people gather, they are able to inflict massive damage to your reputation, your feelings, and possible earnings. Here's the truth. If you've never done anything wrong, don't try to answer. You can't answer a negative. Someone makes an accusation of you, make them prove it. It's that simple. Prove what you're saying. Just say that, and you'll see how quickly everyone backs down, and they won't have anything to say. Because in the end, the truth shall set you free. Anyone want to chime in beyond that?
No.
Okay. Ralph goes on to say, remember, we older guys and players, yeah, I said it, we're used to that being the way it was in 1980s. Yeah, but we're 2020 now, 40 years later, Ralph.
There was an accepted form of behavior 40 years before the 80s also. That back in the 80s we didn't adhere to. Times change, people change, mores change, and if you don't roll with the times.
Wasn't Varian born in the 80s?
Probably in the late 80s.
Late 80s.
Way in the late 80s.
82, actually.
Times they are changing.
Yeah, and remember, we evolve. You evolve or die. Part of evolving is listening to other people. If something makes you feel uncomfortable, it's not okay. Get over it. If that's what the society now expects, we all have to conform to it to a certain degree or be respectful of it. I don't want to. Too many people want to put their opinions on everything like it's a salad dressing. The problem is no one's serving you salad. Keep your opinions to yourself. Don't use Facebook as a thought bubble and you'll get in less trouble. That's just a perfectly good example. Stop saying things get you in trouble and you'll be in less trouble. That's not towards Ralph. That's towards everyone, just to be clear. Ralph's being very open and honest, and he said he was a player. So he obviously knows, hey, I did this. It was the 80s. And that is true.
None of us act the same way as we did 40 years ago.
And there is
hopefully
different
not.
society, like
except Varian, if you ask his wife. Sometimes he still acts like a baby.
But you see them ripping down all these statues now, and I'm not talking about the Civil War ones. I'm talking about other people, and they're like, well, they did this and that. It was 400 years ago, 200 years ago, 100 years ago. Shit was drastically different. They were dying because they weren't washing their hands.
Yep.
Larry, I did hear you start saying something.
Oh no, I was laughing at Randy. Yeah, I mean, exactly what she says. I'm a big baby around here. You know, the thing with that we face as a culture, I just like it just to show you. About yesterday, I used a ride share service because I can't drive right now. It's not happening, and as I was getting out the car, I thought that my wife dropped her credit card. So I picked it up, and as we go in the store, I flip it over, and I notice it's not her card at all. It's someone else's, and it has a name on it. And I'm like, whoa, okay, this isn't hers. And they go, I guess I should tear it up and toss it in the trash can. Maybe I'll break it or something. But then I thought about it. I said, let me try to contact someone, the owner of this card. So I went on Facebook and I contacted the owner. I found people in my area, which is very hard to do, by the way, with this name, because it was the most white bread name ever. Like I've never, like, it's like he might have been named William Smith. It's like, oh my God, I'm never gonna find this guy. And apparently when, so I'm looking for him and I do find someone who matches. He's in the area. He's using the short version of his name. So like if it was a Robert, he'd maybe be a Bobby, on Facebook. So I reach out to him. I said, hey, did you use a rideshare program? And if so, did you lose a debit card yesterday from a bank? If you tell me what bank it was, what the last 4 digits of the card were, or at least what bank and what name's on the card.
And the PIN. Make sure to ask for the PIN.
Yeah, I'd be happy to return it to you. And he messages me back and he says, I canceled in the AM. That's my card. And I said, okay. I said, do you want me to mail it to you? Do you want me to
creepy?
Well, because I mean, I don't know if I would want somebody to save my shit.
You want his address now? So you're a guy with this card who wants his address. You're not thinking about that. So you're not thinking about the fact you're giving his zip code.
At the same, I mean, he's like in my area. Like, do you want to meet? I
don't trust him. No, he'll kill you.
What's he messaging me? He says, no. He says, I really appreciate it, man. Thanks. And he says, I'll have to, I have to get you a beer sometime, which I really appreciate it because, he's apparently the bad guy. From what I've been reading online, this is a middle-aged white dude.
Oh no, not them.
He's the bad guy. He's supposed to not like me. And so I think that the times that we can actually go out of our way to not scare the other side. I mean, again, if Rob gets out of his car middle of the night, he's got a mohawk and he helps some young black girl change her tire, she's gonna be like, I guess he wasn't that bad for a cracker. And she's gonna let him go. No, but she's gonna be happy. I think that we start changing each other's minds that way. We start acting like the decent human beings we are.
Yep, it's up to us to make the difference. IRS.
Unless, of course, you're Luke, then the human race just looks at you and says,
Again, so close to a powerful moment.
Yeah.
So close. And
listen, I'm Taika Waititi of conversation, man. I undercut every hardcore emotional scene with humor that's so out of place and wrong.
Accurate.
Yeah.
I really like that guy. He's good.
Ralph Griffin says, and remember, tolerance is for action done long ago. Not brushing it off as something nothing, but being used to the culture of the time. Yeah, you have to. You can't rip down statues when you didn't live in the time. I'm not talking about the Civil War ones. I'm all for you. I have no idea why we have Civil War ones up in America. I am against that. Go ahead, Randy.
And again, you have to take that on a case-by-case basis.
You do.
Yes, that's true, but most of them were put up in the 50s and 60s.
That's the case that you tear it down.
That's a problem.
That's what it is. It's that simple. If it's put up for bigotry, it needs to come down. If it's put up for historical importance and in order to prove a historical point to those generations coming up after you, maybe you should leave it there and use it as a historical moment.
The funniest thing I ever heard about this, hold on, I don't mean to step on you, Luke, but I heard this. They said, point out one British statue still in America.
It's
British
true.
statue?
It's true.
You might find a few Revolutionary War
I
statues sitting around.
I think somebody's got a statue of Stalin in their city that's still standing. But yeah, if the statue was put up in the
I don't think
50s
it's
and
there
60s,
anymore. Yeah.
maybe not. But I think if the statue's put up in the 50s and 60s in response to the civil rights movement as kind of like, a big flying finger to them, then yeah, tear that down. I mean,
Yeah,
after all, I mean, you
absolutely.
guys lost.
Yep.
You lost. We don't reward the losers.
General Lee wasn't born in every city.
No.
He wasn't. But there is a level of intelligence in the strategies that he used in the Civil War that should be noted.
It should just be, all history should be discussed. We shouldn't name the county I live in Lee. I came down here and I thought it was honestly about an Asian guy. I was so stupid. I really thought it was that's cool. Florida's progressive. It's about, some Asian guy who came down to Florida and did some cool stuff. I'll have to look it up one day. I looked it up. I was horrified. It's General Lee.
Jacksonville is named after.
Is that on the
Yes.
chopping block to be renamed?
Hopefully, yeah.
Actually,
Look
they're
at in the capital of Ohio is now going to be Indigenous Ohio.
I know that there's going to be a football team called the Indigenous Washington. So
I certainly hope they change it to the Washington Red Tails because that would be nice.
Yeah, that would be really nice.
cool.
I really like that sentiment.
Cheerleaders with tails on their butts.
No.
I think part of the
That's
problem
that's
is
like saying Cracker Barrel is bad, dude. No.
Yeah.
No,
No,
it's not how that works.
I think that part of the problem is people get most of their history and most of their news, most of their theology, most of their politics from memes.
Yep.
Yep.
For memes and tweets. And you know what? You just can't learn what you need to learn that way. Crack open a book, read it, have a conversation with someone that lived it, for crying out loud.
Hashtag get an education.
That the little girl that was the first little African American girl that was able to go to a white school.
Mhm.
She just turned 60.
Mhm.
So have conversations with people that lived those times. They're still with us. Let's have a conversation and learn.
It hasn't even been a century since the women had the right to vote.
Yeah.
No,
This
that-
is 100 years.
Wrap your head around that.
No, it has been
This
100
is-
years since then.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
This is 100 years this year.
This
Women's
year.
suffrage. And let me just take this opportunity
Hold on,
to say,
Very
So I was a little bit.
But go ahead. Luke. Go ahead.
I was going to say, let's just take this opportunity to celebrate 100 years of women's suffrage by voting in the first female president, Jo Jorgensen, at jojo2020.com. There you go.
Jojo, $20 for this.
Can't be any worse than the ones that are running.
I do want to say
Go
one
ahead.
thing though. I want you guys to notice something. Okay. So people who normally, say we have our rights. They fly that they want to fly the Nazi flag. They got told, okay, you can't fly that. I mean, come on, it's kind of disrespectful. You're flying the Nazi flag. Then they want to fly the Confederate, which, as a kid, I knew that as a General Lee. That was Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
I had no idea of the connotation behind it.
Yeah.
And so, I got older. I'm like, oh, wow. Now they're getting told, hey, by the way, now you can't. And here's the problem. I know people with that tattooed on them. Okay. They've got rebel flag, even though they were born and raised in Michigan. They've got Confederate flags, on their shoulders, whatever. And
they should leave it, Varian. It's easier for us to identify the idiots.
Well, yeah, that's what we used to figure.
And now they're like, hey, you can't fly that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, they're going to start flying. By the way, And by the way, they said they can't fly. They can't fly it at the. They can't fly it in NASCAR anymore either way. Anyway, but they should not worry about NASCAR because final lap, the white flag always waves, and that's the true flag of the South anyway. So, but the third thing I want to say is that that flag will be replaced. I guarantee you, in a couple of months, by that flag, that thin blue line flag. They're going to start flying that instead of those two that they've been told they can't.
Well, and if the Confederate flag actually meant Southern pride, and the interpretation of that flag has been so warped over the years to mean slavery,
Yeah.
it'd be a different thing. But unfortunately, that's what it means. So it needs to go.
Race,
And the fact that so many of these states incorporated that image into their state flag just to offend people,
Yep.
and to keep people in line, quote unquote, that it needs to go.
racists and bigots will take a flag, take a movement, and
All
turn it
sorts of symbols.
in their, and we've seen that in our own industry. We've
Yeah.
seen movements in our industry get hijacked and turned into something that's not. But
Look at that signature. It looks like a swastika.
Yeah, but again, you just have to call people out for their things, and you hold their feet to the fire.
Yeah.
Make it make sense for me. This literally wanted to destroy America. This was literally them trying to take away freedoms and enslave people. Tell me how your flag's okay. You want a flag that represents that you're a rebel? Don't tread on me. Our revolutionary flag for the American flag. By all means, have at it. We'll put it up on T-shirts. Stop being a fucking asshole. Take down the Confederate flag. You lost. It's over. You're not rising. You're a tourist attraction now.
You're done.
That's what
Yeah.
you are, South. You're a tourist attraction. All right, moving on. As awareness increases, let us hope our light bulbs go off.
There are.
Tori Hill says, I don't agree. I believe we're just becoming more aware of what's been going on for years, Meredith. And I have to agree. Sometimes you don't know what's going on when it's in your hood and the news ain't coming to talk about it. And then the first time you see like someone getting shot on the news, you're like, oh, they do know we exist. I never knew they knew we existed. So I remember I went to a high school. People got shot, stabbed inside the school. I remember the first time that I saw them actually reporting that someone had been raped in the school, and I was proud. The school had gotten so good that crime was now considered bad inside the halls. So that does really mean something when we're being made aware of it. Like Randy said, we're talking about it. We're actually having honest conversations. It's being brought up. It's not, shh, we won't, no, we don't talk. That's not polite conversation. We're going to talk about this privately in a room where no one can hear us talking about it, so we can probably say inappropriate things and take a side that no one will like. Again, from Family Guy. Everyone is much more aware of everything in the day of the internet. Well, aware of what, though? A lot of misinformation. Like Luke said, you get 5 different point of views, and there's a camera for every single thing that happened. Varian got offended and left. I hope it's not something I said. What else do we got? More light. Social media. Why do you think Jerry Springer was so popular and now all the court shows? Are there a lot of court shows? I don't really watch like network television. Are there still a lot? I know Judge Judy just retired.
They're slowly dwindling off.
Yeah, that's what I thought. They were kind of going away. People's Court's gone. Everyone wants to say, do you see? Did you see? Yeah, I mean, again, it's negative. When something's negative or something's controversial, we want to talk about it. You know, we're not talking enough about that hero kid. That hero kid who stepped in the way of a charging dog to save his daughter.
Sister.
Sister. To saved his sister's life. That should start the news and end the news for the next 2 weeks, but it won't. It'll be a cute little piece, and then Chris Evans has to give a shield to talk about it. We don't focus on the good. We focus on the bad because we like Kim Kardashian. We don't like science. We don't.
It was a feel-good piece at the end of the show. Here's fear, hope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And that's all it was.
And that's the thing. And really, you're seeing that in a lot of different areas too. Like you see that, like that's some people's marketing plan for their comic book is like, hey, let's just be as negative as we can, draw as much attention as we can, and as soon as someone calls us on that, now we're the victim. Go back my project, because negative news sells way more than positive stuff does.
All right. Everyone wants to hear controversial topics. Meredith, I know you have to get going. Do you want to say good night?
I just wanted to say thank you for letting me sit in. I know this is not an easy topic, and I think that it deserves more time. You know, maybe another time slot to really expand on it some more. But I really appreciate being here, you guys. I'm Meredith Lochran. You can find me at meredithlochran.com. And I'll check in with you guys later. Thanks a lot.
See you later, Meredith.
Good night.
Take care, Meredith. Thanks for coming.
All right, let me power through some of these so we can get it going.
Power.
Instead of lifting up, we push a bit down or just ignore. Looking at our news, it bleeds, it leads. It's kind of been how we've been conditioned. That is true. We're a generation of 24-hour news now.
Yep.
We could go down. We could go down maybe the ethnic.
Socioeconomic rabbit hole, but that's another huge topic. Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's a different one. Ooh, wow, this is a big one.
I think it's desensitization and a lack of ability for us all to really help. We just watched the Epstein video on Hulu. That shows what the country's moral compass. Oh, that shows that the country's moral compass is fucked. Sodom and Gomorrah. Sorry, it looked like Saddam. And Gomorrah type shit for real. Yep. It's about money, power, and wealthy privilege, and we all get a little hopeless when we can't help and the system doesn't work.
Yep. True.
Yeah, true.
Now we could go, Ralph says, now we can go down that we already said that, socioeconomic rabbit hole about our degrading, whatever, or religious or political. Yeah.
True indie devil.
My comic, The Dead, Volume 1, would probably have been in trouble today. Yeah. Yeah. What a Ralph. It would, especially the second issue cover. You'd have gotten a lot of cancellation. The internet, however, will allow the crazies to gather. Yep.
That's true. Yeah, and that's true. It's like a bat signal for stupid people to be able to gather in groups now and do stupid things together. That is certainly a bad thing with the internet. Because, like, look at all the Nazi hate douchebags that have gotten together, or the flat earthers. Both groups equally horrible, equally dangerous. Yes, I just equated flat earthers to Nazis. That's how bad you are.
Yeah, I mean, before there was a time it's like you didn't want these people don't need to gather, but yet here they are. They're finding and they're getting strength in numbers. And when you find so when you're by yourself and you're keeping your like little secret weird thing like secret from everybody else, it's one thing. But when you find somebody else and you can start letting those freak flags fly, you start to get a little more bold with those things. And that's what we're seeing. Yeah.
Part of social media. And again, it's a part of everybody learning to use the tool.
Yep.
Some for good, some for bad, you know. Each town had one or two crazies, but they didn't know about the others. Yeah, that's what. Now we gather in spider webs. Yeah. Katrina, right? Yeah, women cutting their hair. That's code for couples.
So you don't lose respect.
Yeah, that's back when we were talking about mom and dad sticking up for each other.
And these are the weird laws.
Men can't publicly wear. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird stuff left on the books, and there is a lot of that stuff.
Every state has their oddball laws. Yeah.
Yep. And then we have
they do.
Okay.
Legal.
The
obligation. Yeah.
She put herself out. Yeah, we saw that.
Yep.
That's an interesting relationship.
Yep.
She sounds lost.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. You want to read it, Randy?
As long as people are trying to police themselves and others, there is always going to be issues, as it's all opinion-based with no real law or structure. Well, there's real law.
Yeah, in America we have slander and all that. That's there is, you know. And then
and libel.
I mean, there is still the court of public opinion here.
Yeah.
You know.
That was Jax. He walked by.
Hey, kiddo. By 30, 2 kids, married for 10 years and divorced. No time for shenanigans. Yep.
Right. Sometimes it's just being an adult stops you from doing stupid shit when you got real things to get done.
And sometimes shenanigans is lonely.
Yeah.
So when I poked the voodoo doll in the neck, it worked. Oh, she's talking to Varian. Who is gone now. So I'm just a bill there in Capitol Hill waiting for my corporate shill. Yep. That's the way that works. For me, comics were how I maintained sane. Tori, it sounds like you've got a real awesome story.
And I think he shares some of it here in the comments.
Yeah. He did 10 years. Yeah. That person should not be allowed back in. I might be biased at the moment, though. I think she was talking about Varian.
No,
not really.
Yeah, she was talking about Karen.
Yeah.
All right.
Tori says, I started working on my comic in prison. I was 3 out of 1,400 who read comics inside, guys. The Walking Dead was very popular, though. Yeah.
Ooh.
They were comic fans that just didn't know it. Oh, yeah, I've been waiting to get to this. Yeah, and Vic lost his case. Most of these defamation cases are not turning out very well. Not defamation. Zach is not suing for defamation. He is suing for torturous interference. Big difference. the lawyer Zach has specializes in tortious interference cases. They would not have taken Zach's case if they did not think they were going to win it. And yes, there can always be a miscarriage of justice. It does happen way too often in our judicial system. But when the opposition lawyer, all they want to do is stall, appeal, stall, you know they're in trouble. They don't know where to go with it. They're kind of stuck because, well, Zach's got money to hire a powerhouse, which he did. So we'll see how this turns out, Larry. I can't say 100% that this is that it's going to turn out in Zach's favor, because there's always an oddball chance that they're going to get a sympathetic judge, or who knows what could happen, and the case could turn the wrong way. Then there will be another torturous interference case, not necessarily from Zach, but there have been enough actions out there happen, especially now, stop me if we get off topic, now that we're seeing some of this Whisper Network stuff come to light, and who knows what's going to still come out, because that's only scratched the surface as to who's butted into whose business. Yeah. So if this one doesn't work, there might be another one right around the corner. And I know that I know you don't follow Zach at all, but he's done numerous videos explaining the case, especially right when it started. It's just that in the American judicial system, if you have a smart enough lawyer who knows how to drag their feet, you can drag this out for years, and that's exactly what Wade's lawyer is doing. They want a decision, stop dragging their feet.
Except that's going to stop. In the next 3 years, all the United States of America is going to implement new laws to make the court system go faster.
Well, that's been, let's hope it does, but that's been something they've been talking about for 30, 40 years.
No, but it's been a federal law that Trump actually, to his credit, has pushed through, and it has to be implemented within 3 years.
Let's see it kick in. I'm all for it.
And we have Phil joining us. What's going on, Phil?
But yeah, again, Larry, take the blinders off, get an education, and I know you're up in Canada and the laws are different, so just hang in there. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
Are you there, Phil?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Oh, not a lot. I was looking for the regular link. You put this in your comments where it said link to the show.
Oh, this was the live mic.
Oh, well,
you're
cool.
Live right now.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Say hello to the deep state.
Hello, deep steak.
Just deep steak. Yep, with steak sauce.
We're just wrapping up the show now. So, when did people start thinking the Earth was flat? Don't even start, Glenn. That's a pet peeve of mine. It started a long time ago. We got pictures to prove it wasn't, and then we went back. Your feed broke.
According to J.D. Calderon, we have been taken down hard on YouTube.
Uh-oh. Yep, I do not believe in the court of public opinion. I wonder what happened that got us taken down from YouTube. This time. This is the second time now.
Well, we seem to have gained some, fake strikers. So that happens for a while.
That must have been why I got redirected here.
Until they realize that they're powerless, and then they'll stop doing it. It's just going to take chasing after them behind them. So there was breakfast, Thursday's breakfast buzz, and Wednesday's Geekgasm took a while to get up on YouTube as well. So
here's what's funny.
We'll just go through an appeal.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess we're going to be doing that. Okay.
What's funny is I actually had my my nuts and bolts lettering show taken down off YouTube for something.
And again, it goes back to these haters, these trolls, these people who don't want a serious discussion about what's happening, what's going on. So I don't know what more to tell you.
Yeah, and just so you know, we're still live on the radio for the haters who are watching. So you haven't stopped the signal. The signal continues to go on.
This will be finished up anyway. They'll stick it back up on YouTube as soon as it's protested again.
Is it possible it was the algorithms?
I doubt it.
No.
You never know anymore with YouTube because they're real goofy.
Well, Katrina says we are fine on Facebook. It's Facebook that what's broke. When they said, you mentioned Deep State, that's why. Rebel says, Rebel, if you want to talk to Randy about this court case, talk to Randy about the court case. We're not People's Court. We have to wrap it up. We're over 2 hours.
Seriously, though, Larry, it's just your opinion. And again, you really need to do some research into the case because it sounds pretty solid to me. I'm no lawyer though, and there's always a chance it'll go south.
But Phil, tell us who you are, where we can find you, and what you're working on next.
Oh, I'm Phil. I'm an artist, but I've went to comics a handful of years back, and I've been working as a colorist quite a bit. I actually got roped into doing some editorial work for a company or two. Yeah, just basically doing comics, doing pages, doing covers, doing color work.
All right. Thanks for coming on, man. You definitely have to come on a little earlier. Maybe next week, come on, hang out with us. Who knows what topic we're going to be talking about by next week. But you're more than welcome, Phil. And as anyone listening, thank you for being on. Luke, tell them who you are.
Yep, my name's Luke Stone. I am the writer and artist behind a few different books, one of them being right here. You can't see it on the radio, but right behind me, called Hybrids, the Sons of Gods. I'm also with a company called Terraform Comics. You're going to be seeing my name come out with a couple of different books through there, actually teaming up with Rob and with Brian K. Morris with a couple of things. Also right now, Kickstarter, I have a book called Voodoo Nations where I'm a co-creator with Travis Gibb. Please check that out. It's on it's Voodoo Nations. Issue number 1 is on Kickstarter right now. You can go to LukeStoneStudios.com to follow me and make sure to sign up for that mailing list. Also go over to TerraformComics.com. Sign up for the mailing list over there as well. Thank you.
And we're still on We're still on YouTube. Last time I checked, I just checked on YouTube. We're still there. So.
All right. I got an accountability thing. I'm going to have to find. Apparently, there's things we mentioned. I'm going to put Randy on. Apparently, because we mentioned COVID. That's their problem. Someone must have said that word and it got us.
Oh, I'm sure we did in the course of discussion.
Yeah. So I'm appealing it right now.
And again, there's plenty of videos up there that mention that. So, hey everybody, I'm Randy Zimmerman. I am on the Zim Geek channel on YouTube, ZIMMGEEK, and I'm also on the Indie Volt channel Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Thursday morning for the Breakfast Buzz at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can always find me there. I also Facebook and Twitter, though I don't twit very often. I am there under Randy Zim. I'm under Randy Zimmerman on Facebook. You're more than welcome to join or talk to me on there. All right? Thank you very much.
All right, guys. That's it. Thank you all for being on. We thank Meredith. We thank Varian, who aren't here to say goodbye with us. Thank Phil coming in, Luke, and Randy, as always. Great conversation. Wasn't an easy one. No. Maybe Meredith, we'll do this again in a few weeks. But right now, we're out of here. Thank you for tuning in. The next time you can catch the amazing events of the Indie Volt saga will be on Tuesday, unless breaking news comes in and we have to break in for any reason.
Well, I might decide to go live Sunday morning. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe he will. Do you want to switch over real quick and do the emails and how to subscribe on the other brand?
Yeah, we can. I can switch us over.
Yeah, go ahead.
Poof. There we are. Ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to send, please feel free to watch us on indievolt.com. You can listen online now at the through Google Play, your Streama app. Alexa, if you ask her nicely to play indievolt.com or indievolt radio, she will do that. Plus, there's an indievolt app that you can always get through the Google store. On top of that, there is indievolt TV, where you can watch some awesome movies right off of your Roku box. So load that in and take a look. Also, a lot of our podcasts are streamed on there as well and available for your viewing pleasure, even though most of us have faces for radio. You can send us any kind of email I'll try to be nice, to IndieVolt Live at indievolt.com, and put IndieVolt Live in your subject header. Please keep your emails to 90 words or less, so Varian can type it on a card. There is no email that you can send us that is too silly or too serious. We love talking about everything that has to do with comics and the genre media. And remember, our feedback will be better because of your setback. Hashtag get an education. Hashtag IndieVolt. So until Tuesday, if not before.
Glenn Ford, real quick, says, come see me on YouTube and Instagram as
Ionicus Toy Reviews and Toy Photography.
And that's it. We're out. Do you want to take us out?
Until next time, take care, everybody. You want to take that comment off? There we go. To be continued, probably Tuesday night, unless somebody else breaks in a radio broadcast in the meantime. You never know on Indie Volt. We could break in at any time. So we appreciate all of you listening all around the world, all of you thousands. Deeply appreciate you, and take care, everybody. We've got way too many of these video clips. Take care, everyone. Stay safe.
Yay! Think about what you've accomplished.
Yeah.
They're closing?
Yes, next Tuesday.
Okay, the last thing I want to be when the end of the world comes is sober.
Wonder Woman. Whoops.